What does the word America mean to you?
To me, America means chocolate.
A hodgepodge of different ideas.
Medium intelligent, superficial, honest, nice fellows.
It was not at all what I thought it would be. I am so disappointed.
Good evening. This is the opening program in our 1956 discussion series. During the course of these 12 programs, you'll meet 33 students from 33 countries who have just come to the United States as forum delegates. 4 of them are here for tonight's discussion. They are Hye-Jun Park, 17 years old, from Korea; Chitranjan Kapoor, from India, who's just admitted to me stayed out till 4:30 last night. I guess it was in a discussion. Francesco Brioschi from Italy, 17, and Jawahir Haji Ali from Malaya. Jawahir, since you said you were terribly disappointed with America, maybe you ought to tell us what's disappointed you so much.
When I got down at the American airport, I was so surprised and shocked to find that America was freezing and shivering with cold.
Didn't you know it would be in the winter?
Yes, I knew it would be in winter, but I had no idea how cold it would be. And this is the first time I experienced the cold.
What was the picture you had in your mind of America before you came here?
Well, before I came here, I thought that America, I'm in New York, is the busiest city in the world. And I thought that if I am in the middle of the city, I would hardly hear my own voice because of the noise.
It hasn't been quite that bad?
Yes.
But you surely didn't expect to see flowers and trees in January, did you?
Yes, I did at first. I thought surely there must be some flowers. Well, anyhow, in winter, I expect to see some flowers too.
We'll take you to a greenhouse. Hey, June, chocolate. America means chocolate. What do you mean by that?
Well, with the termination of World War II, American soldiers came over Korea, and they did funny things to Korean children. Whenever they walk around the streets, they gave chocolates and chewing gums to especially young students, and Korean young children made America chocolate.
I suppose that's true in lots of the world. Is that true in Italy? Does chocolate sort of mean American, or did it during the war?
Well, during the war, not now.
Well, now you'd better explain some of those other things you said America meant to you, Francesco.
Well, not to me, to my country, or not to all my country, or a part, naturally. Honest, we generally consider American very simple people, simple in every field of their life, even in their mind. And this simplicity is not a synonym with intelligence. But this is not my opinion, I repeat.
But what makes you think that they are simple?
Simple because they are young people. They are not sophisticated, I mean. You see the point?
Up till now, I thought that Americans are the most sophisticated people of the world.
Who told you?
Well, that's what I had read about America, and that's what I had seen about America.
Oh, you must be
both
wrong.
in books as well as in pictures.
Well, you know, I don't say the lack of sophistication is a bad thing, but sophistications come with the years, you know, and Americans have only 4th century behind them. Don't you think so?
Well, I still persist that Americans are the most sophisticated people of the world.
What were some, excuse me for interrupting, what were some of your meanings when you said America to you is a hodgepodge of different ideas?
Well, it was a hodgepodge of different ideas to me because I didn't know much about America. I knew a bit of its geography, a bit of its topography, and I had read a bit of its history also. I thought that Americans were rich people, and they are rich also, but not all of them as I had thought. That's all I think.
What makes you think that American people are rich?
Well, that's what I had heard about them, and that's what I had read about them.
Do you mean you heard about them from radios? Or
Yes,
from people who came from
radios,
America?
from people who had come from America, from newspapers, books, and many other things.
Oh, I see.
You know, in Italy, we all think about the Uncle Tom or Uncle Sam or something of the kind.
Uncle
And
Sam, you're right.
Yes, oh,
Yes.
possibly. And we all think the American are millionaire, just like Rockefeller or Ford. But now I think that the amount of Italian millionaires is superior to that of the American millionaires. But the media, well, of the American people naturally is richer.
I wonder if you and Hei Jung have gotten your ideas about America in the same way. There are American soldiers in Italy, and of course American soldiers in Korea. Would you say your first impressions of America came from the soldiers that were there?
I haven't seen a single soldier, I'm so sorry.
You didn't. How about you, Hei Jung? You have.
Well, I've seen American soldiers when the Second World War ended. And it was my first time that I saw American foreigners in my life, and they looked very strange. They tall, and they were very thin, and they were well armed.
Well, what?
Armed.
But since then, how have your impressions, what has helped you get an impression of America since the war? Any books, pictures, what?
I read quite a few books about American history and its peoples. So I read books, informational books about the United States from the USIS. So I learned quite a lot about America. So I had an image that America is the richest country in the world. Their peoples are very generous, and they worship Christianity more than any other nation in the world.
For just a moment, please, about your Christianity. I think the main thing about American religion, or the religion as felt by American, they think that God has created them only for doing what they like, you see. They worship God only if they think that God can help them. You see, I don't think Americans have got much spirit of sacrifice, you know. Don't you think so?
I don't understand the spirit of what?
Of
Sacrifice.
sacrifice.
What does
yeah.
it mean by that?
It means that they are not ready to submit their personal will for something else, you know.
Well, in Korea, see, especially during the Korean War, the poor were assisted greatly by the missionaries and American soldiers and many other private groups, such as KCAC, Korean Civil Assistance Command. That is actually a military.
Oh yes, but you know, in the exterior manifestation,
Yes.
they are generous. But I don't know if they are generous with themselves. If they can, possibly they can give $1 million or a little bit less maybe. But I don't know if they can give their life. You know what I mean?
See, I'll give a good example. During the Korean War,
Yeah.
1,000 American soldiers were killed, and they sacrificed their lives with $1,000.
And then do you know about India? Since independence, they have given us about $500 million of money up till now, and that has helped.
Yes, I know money. Also Italy have given a lot.
Then how do you say they're not generous? I think they are the.
Explain it to
If
you.
not the most, they are one of the most generous people of the world.
You know, the most important generosity is the sacrifice of one's own life. I don't mean to die for the
I
country.
think America is the only country in the world which has sacrificed more than any other country. In World War II and World War I, they sent hundreds of their sons to Europe and to other places who fought and died these great sons of a great country died fighting a great cause.
But Chitranjan, are you representing now the typical Indian opinion about America? How would you say Indians today really think about Americans?
The Indians think that Americans are very rich people and they have a lot of money, which they can give just for a word. If you agree with them, they'll give you anything they feel like it. And then we also feel that previously they were very anti-colonialistic. They helped every country in the world in its fight for independence. The same it was for India, even for the Philippines. But recently the Dulles and the Kuna statement has given rise to great anger and sorrow in the hearts of the Indians.
What Dulles statement do you mean, Chitranjan?
The statement in which Mr. Dulles, Secretary of State of the USA, said that Goa was a province of Portugal and not a colony as it has been understood for years up till now.
That really caused quite a lot of adverse public opinion in India?
Oh yes, it did, certainly.
Would you say that the Americans or the British are more liked by the Indians?
Well, so long as the question of liking goes, the sophisticated class like the Americans, maybe because they see them in films or even they go outside, they know they're very hospitable people and all that. But Americans, they want India to be wholly on their side, which Indians are not and will never be, because it's a historical and a geographical fact that India is nearer to Russia and to China than it is to the United States. And you raise the question of UK. Well, you know that the UK was our sort of master for so many centuries, and still now we have quite good relations with them. Even, I may say, that better relations than we have with America. That is because they have seen what Indians are, what type they are, what they like and what they don't like. And one adverse experience will not make them commit another one. They've already been pushed out of India, and they know that if they try it again, it won't do any good. So they just don't try that same thing again. While Americans, they haven't had so much experience with India. That's the thing.
I'd like to come back now, Francesco, to some of the points you made about America in your opening. You said they are superficial, medium intelligent.
Yes, I did. This is the general Italian opinion about you, I'm sorry to say, and I'll be glad to change it as soon as possible. And for instance, medium intelligent, I mean that they've got a Reader's Digest mind. You know, this superficial kind of optimism.
What exactly do you mean by Reader's Digest mind?
Have you ever read this paper?
Oh yes, plenty of them.
Well,
I've been a subscriber to the Reader's Digest for quite a number of years.
Well, any case, I think that there is much good in this paper. Because,
Yes, there sure is.
But it's too simple, you see?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't deepen the question. And this is a point about American. They just stay, they don't deepen the problem, you see? Or at least...
Do you mean by that Americans are not a deep thinker?
No, they are not.
How? And why?
They are
Would you
not-
please explain?
Well, this may come possibly from the education.
Education, yes.
You don't learn very much philosophy in your school, in American school, I mean. And this philosophy helps very much to reason. And if you have not got that, a classical education, I don't mean you can't reason, but I mean it's more difficult to do it.
Excuse me, what do you mean by the word superficial, please?
Superficial, they
Yes.
don't deepen.
They don't deepen.
What do you think about it?
Well, can you explain further what do you mean by they don't deepen?
Well, yeah, if there is a question and if you give to Americans a solution, you see, this
Yes.
solution is quite all right for them, even if it's a silly solution. and they don't look for anything else, you see.
Oh, I see.
The pleasant, they mix up the pleasant and the truth sometimes, you see. The truth, I mean.
Oh, yes.
You're giving us some fascinating insights, ourselves as others see us. I'd like to find out a little bit more, though, how these ideas have come to you.
I don't know. I've not met many Americans, but I don't know the Reader Digest is sufficient for that, or your
So
movies.
far as I know, the Reader's Digest gives condensed news and condensed form of books and a few articles by some leading authors.
But it's fascinating to see how the image of America that gets to Malaya is, for example, different from the one that gets to Italy, and how the image of America in India is very different from the one that's in Korea. That's why, can you tell us just a little bit more as you think back? How did you get this image of America that you had when you came a few days ago?
As I had a lot of American friends in Korea, I thought America was a very nice place and well modernized and self-supporting nation in the world. And as I landed at Idlewild International Airport and drove New York on the Christmas day night, the New York was imaginative place. So New York, America is same as I thought while I was staying in Korea.
Oh, don't think you are the only one who thinks that America is a wonderful country, you know. I myself do think so.
Same here.
But how does this idea, this European idea of Americans as being just medium intelligent, not of a philosophical bent of mind, where do you get that, Francesco? Do you get it in school?
Well, I think Europeans mixed up sophistication with intelligence. This is quite possible. Don't you think so?
I don't know. I'm fascinated with your ideas. 3 months from now, we'll compare them again.
Yes,
But it's very useful to us to see how these things came about.
Well, I don't know. Our schools don't speak very much about America. The papers do, naturally. The people do, either. But, well, I don't know. I can't explain it, you see.
Okay, we'll shift on to something else.
All right, let's shift to India. What's on your mind at the moment in this general area?
What exactly do you mean, Mrs. Waller?
Well, I have a feeling, I wanted to catch you up on one point. You said that the Indians were very unhappy over our over Dulles' statement on Goa.
Yes.
Because you didn't want us to side with the Portuguese on that.
Yes.
Weren't we sort of taking a neutral position, not siding either with Portugal or India? And doesn't that correspond to India's position in the world today of not siding with one side or another?
The Dallaskura statement was perfect siding with the Portuguese of America. It was not neutralism as practiced by India or as by any other country in the world.
Well, that is, of course, one interpretation of it. But I just wondered how often one can be neutral, in what conditions one can be neutral.
No, but there are certain things about neutrality also. But this statement was a clear siding with the Portuguese. When Dr. Kuna wanted, and he said in public also, that Portuguese was that Goa was a Portuguese province, but it is not. It has been a colony for quite a long time. And Mr. Dulles goes on and agrees that it is a Portuguese province and has been since generations.
You feel that this did affect Indian public opinion quite a lot?
Oh yes, they have lost much ground since that statement has been issued.
Were you still there when Khrushchev and Bulganin came to India?
Oh yes, I was, and I was one of those who saw them riding in triumph in the streets of Delhi.
Oh, you must be a lucky boy to see them.
Do you want... Sorry.
Because it's really very difficult, you know, sometimes to meet some great people.
Well, I'm not the least interested in Bulganin. He must be a stupid fellow as many others, you know.
Well, that's a matter of opinion, but I think if he's the Prime Minister of Russia, he's a sufficiently
I'm
big
so
man for me to see him on the streets. And I don't mind traveling 10 miles even to see, even 100 miles to see a fellow like him.
No, stupid was not the right word. I mean,
Never
I
mind,
meant
no, it has
because
been
he
said
must-
and it has been recorded, never mind.
Yes, he's
Excuse
surely
me,
very intelligent.
excuse me. I think you met the Premier Bulgarian.
I didn't exactly meet him, I saw him.
You saw him, and would you please tell us how he acted while he stayed in India?
Well, his actions were quite good, they're perfect, but he took some little undue advantage also of his stay out there and criticized the West, which we in India did not want him to do.
And don't you think he gave a great opportunity to a local communist to get strength in India?
Well, it could have been used by the communists, but the communists themselves are now quite in favor of the Congress.
Are there many communists in India?
Well, see, in our parliament, there are out of 500 members, about 50 are communists.
In parliament?
Yes.
Are they
In a
Indian
national parliament.
communist?
Oh yes, all of them are Indian.
And actually, it's to stay in India. But let us come back to what do you think about American? What do you think, for instance, about American honesty?
Francesco, may I ask one question before that? Would you like to compare the reception given to Khrushchev and Bulganin by the people of India with the reception given to English or American visitors who've come to India? Can you, Chief?
Yes, I can compare it because, see, up till now, the biggest man of America who has visited India has been Secretary Dulles. No higher official than him has ever visited India up till now. In regard to the England, Sir Anthony Eden, the Foreign Secretary of England, visited India this year also, and he got quite a reception, as much as was warranted by the circumstances, because you know that Sir Anthony Eden and in fact all the leaders of the free world, they move about quite a lot in the free world, while for Russian leaders and all, they're not so, if I may use the word, cheap in their movements. They usually stay at home, and once they come out, there is a sort of atmosphere around them, and people want to take part in that atmosphere.
Then it was not only that the Soviet representatives who visited India had higher rank that made all the people come to see them. It was also the fact that this was kind of a curiosity.
Yes, in part.
But as you saw the people, what was the reaction you got from the crowds?
The reaction I got from the crowds that, as usual, our crowds wanted to increase the circle of friendship all over the world and to bring into the circle as many people as they could, whom they could call as their friends.
I wish you could tell us just a little bit more about the sense, because we don't know whether the newspaper reports we get here are accurate or not.
Okay, I'll tell you. The Russian leaders, they visited India last month. When they came to India, they landed in India actually on the 18th of November. The government, though they didn't help directly in transporting people from the different provinces, as has been alleged by quite a number of Western papers. Some of the companies, they provided transport, and others, they reduced rates a little bit.
Was it true, for example, that in New Delhi, school children were told to go out into the streets and cheer?
Yes, that we did with the Nepalese king also. Anybody who comes there, we have to give him a royal welcome. And another fact is that when our Prime Minister went to Russia, he got a very good reception. And it would have been bad for us had we not given the same sort of reception, if we couldn't give him a better one. And you may be knowing that Indians are a very hospitable people.
Yes, we do know that. Every Westerner who has been there does know that. But I was trying to find out if anything in the attitude of these Russian diplomats was different from anything in the attitude of Westerners when they come to India that made the people more or less enthusiastic for one or the other.
Oh yes, when most Western statesmen or politicians come to India, they usually go out, if they go out into the villages for seeing the community project something, they'll stand aloof and ask a few questions about this and that and come back. But when the Russians went there, I think they have more knowledge about the emotional impact on the common people than the Westerns who go there usually. And they took on to themselves to wear the local dress and everything so that they should make themselves appear as a part of the population and make the population feel that they were their friends.
I wonder if they would have gotten the same reception in other countries in Asia.
Well, that depends. In India, there was a sort of climate also in favor of Russia, because we in India, we are trying to increase the circle of friendship. And that's not, you can't say that for all countries in the world. Some of them are absolutely against Russia or against the communists as a whole. We in India, we may be against their policies and their ideas, but we certainly like them as a nation, and we prefer coexistence with them than fighting with them.
How was this reported in the Korean press, Hey Jun?
Well, we were informed that the Bulgarian, Premier Bulgarian and Khrushchev were making friendship with India.
You're perfectly right.
And that was actually called the third. They were making great friendship in Asia to invade other country without making destructions.
I don't think how they could invade India, because they know the futility of such an invasion.
That was a psychological warfare, actually, because they try to build up communist forces in Asia, because then they want to fill the vacuum. Which
I don't think there is any vacuum in India. It looks
a vacuum in Southeast Asia.
Oh, but not in India. Maybe in the rest of Southeast Asia. I can't say that of Burma also, but maybe in other places.
I would say the Middle Eastern nations and the Southeastern nations had been suffering from the Western colonialism.
But you know, yes, you're right. Continue.
Because therefore there exists a vacuum, and there also Western democracy would like to fill that vacuum, and in the meantime...
That is why I say that America should come out openly.
Let me finish, please. Communist forces would like to fill the vacuum. Therefore, see, the two parties constantly fight each other in these areas.
I'm sorry, Hey Jun and Francesco and Chichandran and Hajawir, our time is up, but I think this will be the beginning, perhaps, of our next discussion. The vacuum that's there, it's up so soon. I'm sorry. We'll have to say good night until next week.